Hello and welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. Dane Tony here with Joshua Rempel, and today we are talking about what's on your bike. Kind of like the what's in your wallet, except for what's on your bike. Also, apologies if I sound a little nasally. I have a stuffy nose, which nowadays everyone runs away like really fast because of the whole you can't have a cold nowadays. With COVID being around.
Oh, no colds exist.
No colds allowed. Stay home 14 days. That's what I got. Just a little cold, a little stuffy nose. So if I sound like I am holding my nose and going underneath water, it feels about the same. Going back to what we have on our bikes, what we put on there, what aftermarket things we put on our bike and why. Also like to disclose that we are two amateurs talking about this. So this is based off of our own amateur experience.
Yep.
We've been riding for 8-ish years.
Yeah, kind of racing-ish for 3.
Yeah, well, a little longer, but yeah, most competitively for 3. So that's what you're going to get in this podcast.
So we have, I'd say, a decent, we got a bunch of, we ride a lot of trail and then, race a little bit. That's kind of like how I'd put it. So we don't really do, we'll go through, but we don't really change much for the races. Like our bikes are basically just set up how they're set up all the time. Like we trade out moose and tires. That's it. And obviously take that pretty serious, try and put on good tires and get our mooses dialed in. And that's taken some time to learn and figure out.
I feel like you could have your own podcast on tires.
Oh, goodness.
It's such a topic.
Yeah. But on the other side of that, what we ride at the races is what we're riding on the weekends.
For the most part, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't change anything else, I don't think, on mine.
No, I'm just freshen up.
Yeah, besides maintenance stuff. Yeah. But everything else, there's
You're definitely not trying anything new on race day. We've already discussed this.
Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of just hitting some parts, and we're just going to go through, give each other's kind of breakdown on past, maybe what we used to do and how it's evolved to now or whatever kind of thing. So we'll just start off, I think, kind of go from top to bottom on the bike, and highest point we could go, let's go handlebars first and then hit maybe controls, but starting off handlebars.
Before I act like I know anything, I do want to talk about maybe my history a little bit, but when I started riding, you could change a lot in my bike and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. People would say, you need this, you need that. I'd be like, okay, great, put it on. People would be like, what do you think? We're like, I don't know. So it's just been in the past couple years that I feel like I've been able to feel things and be able to be like, oh, this makes a difference. I can feel the difference between this or not. Whereas when I started, I couldn't tell you if it was on backwards. I think there was multiple times where people got on my bike and they were like, your handlebars are all cockeyed and crooked. And what in the heck? How can you ride this thing? And I don't know. Clapped out. I just rode it. But now, as I've progressed as a rider, I think you also progress as your knowledge of the bike and, you make it less clapped. That's our goal. So I am talking from experience that this is kind of a new thing. So I feel like that's what you're going to be getting. So you said handlebars? Yeah,
and one more point on this. Any of the names or brands, or if we do happen to mention them or say anything, it's not a knock on them by any stretch of the imagination. It's not to be disparaging toward them or anything. This is all just from personal experience, and personal experience has a broad range from individual to individual. So we're just kind of talking through some of the stuff we use, some of the stuff we've liked, not liked, or what's evolved or changed over the years. So handlebars to start.
Ooh, that's a tough one to see if I can tell a difference, honestly. I started running those Astra bars, and I thought I liked them. I wonder if they have hindered my downhillness. see, this is one of those things. Like, is it the handlebars or is it me?
Right.
I blame me. But I did like the Astra handlebars. I definitely felt like, I don't remember which ones we got.
Well,
Maybe ask my mechanic.
Yeah, I think you got the Chris Birch bend and the really low rise. So they lowered from the stock handlebars, they're almost like an inch or inch and a half lower. Mm-hmm. They're very low.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like them. This is one of the ones. I don't know. What do you think?
I've liked them. I'm also 6'4", so I've been exploring various bike positions over the years. And this was one I put these bars on last year. And
I should say bike setup does matter. Like setting up your bike to you.
Yes, but it takes time to figure it out.
Yeah. But I know like at Dertastic we talk about that and it does matter.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Like I don't want to underplay that. It's more of like the fine tuning things, like where I used to not be able to tell any difference. But now maybe it's just the fact that, hey, it should have been this way and I just didn't know.
Or I didn't know either. Yeah, I mean, it's been a learning curve.
So I shouldn't downplay it. A lot of these things actually are important. More important than I used to be able to tell.
And they're more important the further along you progress.
Yeah.
Would be my...
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think you also, as you progress, you have the ability to fine-tune them even more.
Exactly. So handlebars, I started off with stock bars. Didn't really think too much about them. At one point, got a pair of risers. Yeah. But with just the bar, went to the Fastway. I'm
blanking too.
Goodness.
Flex bars,
thank you. Really liked those for the most part, but the sweep wasn't great, and I found that I was getting hot spots on my hands. Not so much for the short stuff, but we'll do a lot of like 8+ hour rides, weekends back to back, and like just being on the bike that much. I was getting really bad hot spots on the inside of my palm, like in between the index and thumb, to the point where they'd be really tender and it would not go away. And so came across a advertisement, of course, for like the Astra bar, and then ended up calling the place and talking to someone there, and it was really helpful. I don't know. Talked about it for quite some time, and then ended up getting a pair of bars, the Chris Birch Bend, Pro Bend, I think it was, and I've really liked them. Again, being a taller rider, it was a little bit of adjustment because it brought me a little bit lower. A lot of people tend to actually go with risers, which I did years ago.
We both had risers.
And kind of just the more people I ran into, the more people I talked to. It was like,
and I think you watched one video on Cody Webb's setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, like years ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see any risers, so I was like, well, time to go. And it's definitely, that's one of those things I think that it goes with goals, but risers, I guess, have a place if you're maybe a little bit less intent on like going higher speeds and really tackling some extreme terrain and pushing yourself that route, because they're definitely a little bit more comfortable for long days on the bike. But I think you're losing a lot of ability kind of in there. So that was something I used to use that I don't use anymore at all. I like the Astra bar. I would be curious, like Dane said, it is one of those things that you just got to spend some time and get used to them, and then go back, switch it up and try something else. So I was thinking just the other day about putting stock bars back on and just trying them, just to see what I like and what I didn't. But unlike what Dane was saying with the downhill, I actually really enjoy the bars on the downhill. I feel like I can get back and lower better. So I don't feel like that's been an inhibiting factor for me at all.
Yeah, it could be user error over here.
Well, but if you're not comfortable, you can't get in those positions and make yourself do that stuff.
I don't really know if I'd be comfortable in any... I mean, I'm looking at the downhill situations that I'm talking about are not... I mean, I don't honestly know if it's the bars. It's right in between the ears here.
Yeah, it could be. All right, so spreading out from the bars, controls.
Oh, yeah. So going back, I started with the regular clutch. I stalled my bike every 2 seconds. because I had never ridden a dirt bike in my whole life or anything with a clutch. Got the Recluse. If you guys haven't heard the podcast, I think it's like one of the first two we do. I talk about my history of riding, and I definitely rode with the Recluse for a year or two. And I honestly feel like it was a major help. So those of you that are like maybe anti-Recluse, I get it. I'm talking about an auto clutch, not a, I know Recluse makes regular clutches too, but the auto clutch, there's a place for it, honestly. It allowed me to ride my bike. It gave me permission to learn to ride, rather than like getting held back a lot with the clutch, installing, especially the stuff what we were riding. And so it did give me a boost, but then I also got to a point where I didn't need it anymore. And I think to progress to farther, I think it helped moving to a regular clutch. And the regular clutch I use now is also kind of cheating, is the Clake.
Yeah, the one light pull or one light clutch.
Yeah, I love it. I don't even know if you could probably get them now because it's in Australia. So sorry if I totally promote this product and they're unable to be bought because of shipping and whatnot. But anyways, I love the Clake. It's a regular clutch. I'm going to blame my nub a little bit, but I've got a stumpy middle finger. Those of you listening and know about my nub, you can laugh with me. I'm blame it on that. But actually, I've got weak fingers. But the Clake really helps, especially when we're out there for really long days. I mean, honestly, that's just it. I could be fine on a stock clutch if we're going out for an hour or 2 hours. But, when we're up in the big days, all day adventures.
Or racing.
Even with the Clake, I'll like cramp out. Oh
yeah.
My gosh. So it's been really helpful for me. In my weak hands, I feel like such a sis, but yeah, I really like it. I feel in more control. It's one finger. I love it. If I have to have the stock clutch, I'm 2 fingers. So I just have one less finger on the handlebars. So I don't know. I'd be curious to like kind of what you said, like put back the other, the regular handlebars on, put back the regular clutch. I'd be curious to see like how, since I haven't done that in a while, like, okay, now that, I'm learning these things. Okay, let's go back and see how it goes, or what it all looks like and stuff. What were we talking about?
Controls.
What were the other things? I think I have a regular front brake.
Yep. Regular front brake, and then you got wraparound protection.
Yep.
Guards. Mm-hmm. And I would say with the Clake, it's you're I think I've seen somebody with flags on, so not wraparounds with a Clake, but that feels like you're kind of messing with fire because it's a pretty bulky, like master cylinder kind of thing, and without the wraparound protection, it'd be fairly easy to break the mount, which we've actually done even with wraparounds before. So
totally.
It's one of the things with the Clake. If you got one and you do potentially want to run flags as hand protection instead of the wraparounds, something to consider for sure.
Yeah. But I like it. It's helps me. It's light. It's a very light pull, and I still feel as though I have pretty good control over the clutch. Not as maybe much as like I'm sure you're going to talk about in a second, but it works for me.
Yeah.
Right, handle. What is it? Gears. What do we start? What's the word? The word that you hand.
Wraparounds?
No, the topic. Oh my gosh.
Like
controls.
Thank you. Yeah.
Controls for you.
Yeah, I use regular brake, front brake, nothing fancy. I got the ARC composite levers on. I love those things. I used the Clake as well for a long time. Really liked it. 2 things. I wanted to potentially run flags for handguards and get rid of the wraparounds. And I was scared that I'd break the click off if I did that. And then as I was attempting to learn and still trying to learn bigger obstacles, more trials-like skills, I found the click was very inconsistent in its engagement point. And so it was really hard to find, because with the click, it's a one lever or a one finger pull, and it's just cut off right there. So you can pull it all the way to the handlebar without moving your knuckle, without hitting your knuckles at all. And that's great, but trying to like be moving on a bike or dropping or going up a hill and all of a sudden find the engagement point perfectly to be able to either prevent yourself from wheeling over and maintain traction, or even pivot turn on switchbacks, to double blips especially, were something that it was very hard to be consistent on that engagement point every time, and it was frustrating. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go back and try the stock clutch, because also if you look at the pros, like nobody's running a click. And so that was one of my determining factors of, okay, I'm going to go back and try this and see. And so I went back to regular clutch, and yeah, it's been a game changer for that kind of fine-tuning clutch control, which obviously is a never-ending game. But I do feel that it's much easier and much more consistent with a lever. So if you have the strength, with fingers and hands and all that stuff, I think it's up to you. But I found benefit by going back to the stock lever on that side.
I want to find out if my nub is as strong as or as weaker than my other hand. We need to get one of those measurement thingies.
Oh yeah. I used it.
Find out.
Hand therapy a bunch.
Yeah.
See my pinky finger strength.
I'm just thinking about my excuse of that.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up a handlebar. Oh, steering stabilizer.
Neither one of us have that.
No.
I wouldn't be opposed though. I've gotten on other people's bikes and it's like, whoa, this is weird. But like, I can see how you'd probably get used to it and probably like it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's places for it. I've never
I know like
in it.
Desert people I think are really into it. In fact, I did when I was at Babes in the Dirt. I rode one of my friend's bikes that's like totally set up for the desert. Major difference.
Yeah.
Man. And that was like, there I am, progressing. I can tell a difference. And I could just rail on that thing. And I'm pretty sure it had a steering stabilizer, but it just felt so solid. Unlike my Squirrel.
Right. Moving down, seat cover.
Yeah. I noticed this once I got one. If you've never had one, then you don't know. But yeah, the first time I got one, I was like, wow, my butt doesn't move at all. And now I have the new 22 KTM, and that thing's slick now that I've got back. And I would say it's a minor detail, but I don't know. I like it better with the grips.
Yeah, I would say it's a cheap enough upgrade for the most part that it's worthwhile. And if you're riding like more hard enduro type stuff where you're sitting, standing, moving up and down aggressively back and forth on the bike while you're trying to navigate terrain, it just keeps you in place. You don't work as hard because otherwise your arms are working.
I just know that I was slipping, like when we were riding, doing some quote unquote hard enduro stuff, I was like constantly pulling myself up the seat.
Yeah.
And I'm not as good where I can just, I'm working on standing on the pegs all the time, but to be honest, sometimes it's just grunt work sitting on the seat for me, which, like I said, I need to work on being on the pegs more. But I definitely remember being like, all right, I keep slipping off the seat.
Yeah. Continuing our way down, we'll skip engine stuff and come back to that one. Foot pegs.
That's one I don't really know. I've had the drop pegs. I can tell you what it's like to ride Kigamotos with one foot peg.
No.
Wouldn't recommend it. Talk about some major cramps in the leg, but yeah. Anyways, that's a different story. I I guess the one thing I can tell is like when you get the really spiky ones and your foot doesn't move, I'm like, ooh, I think I like that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm really, really not a big fan of the stock pegs for me. I don't know, they kind of curl up on the outside edge, and I mean, you can do what you do, but that's
ride them until you break them and then get new ones.
Pull them off and then sell them back brand new on the bike when you get rid of it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't like the stock ones, but that's just a personal thing. I've gone through a couple different sets. I had drop pegs on there for a while. They're okay, but I hate having that feeling that my feet are that low, even being as tall as I am. And I tend to hit a lot of things with my feet. So I actually liked getting them. I got rid of them this year, or I guess it was the beginning of this year. Spent the money and got the Raptors, which I absolutely love. It's hard to explain, potentially, right? They're very grippy without putting indentations in your boot, which is amazing. So a lot of the, like kind of what Dane was saying, where you'd have the spiky pegs. The problem is where you wear holes in where the spikes sit. Then you have this weird foot placement where you either have your foot in the perfect spot and it fits in the holes, but you can't really slide on the foot.
You're saying it wears like holes in your
boots? You have one place you can put your foot. And then... Because
of what it did to your boot?
Yeah. Oh. And it was very frustrating. And if you just shift like in a quarter inch or a half inch, then you're out of the holes and it feels all weird. So the Raptor pegs, they stick really well, but they don't wear that kind of pattern into your boot, which is very nice. They are expensive. That's the downside, and potentially a fire starter. So that's something that I'm gonna pay attention to.
Like whatever
titanium.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so sparks off rocks. You got to be aware of. Anyways, really like the pegs, and the platform's nice and wide. I know there's a bunch of other manufacturers out there making good stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna. But as far as the footbed goes, they're really great. Let's see. What do we do for protection in the back?
In the back?
In the back, like rear tire. Back of the bike.
Protection?
Yeah.
I don't know. Mechanic, what do I put on?
Like a rear disc guard.
I was going to say a disc guard.
Yeah, that's one.
That was it, right?
Like chain guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've put I think most of the protection on.
Yeah, we use bulletproof rear disc guards. They've been great.
I mean, just with the hard enduro riding and stuff, it's like for me, I don't know. It's it's gonna break. I mean, there's ghost riding. There goes tumbling bike. If you saw me at Grinding Stone, like just kind of crossing my fingers, hoping nothing really, really breaks. Setting my bike down some of that stuff.
Yeah, chain guard.
Yeah.
And rear disc guard.
One of the guards, which is super interesting, the TPS guard on the TPI bikes. We had an experience once where I think that's probably a good one to get because to be honest, I don't know 100% certain, but I think if you break that, you could be stranded. Like, I don't know if those wires, if there's any fixing, So that could be a definite one to put on there for the TPIs. I think that's smart. Pipe guard for me.
Yeah, that one's a weird one.
For me.
Dane runs a pipe guard.
Otherwise, it's just an ego thing.
What, not running a pipe guard? I don't think so. I don't run a pipe guard. I would say, if you want to talk an ego thing, one thing I could say that I'm proud of is I ran one pipe all year, and it's still running. It's still okay. It probably is about due, but I got it before King of Motos. So I broke my finger, so I didn't get to ride a lot this year, but I got 4 races on that pipe, plus 80, 90 hours, wherever I'm at for the year, and it's not trashed. So that's good.
Nice job.
Yeah, thanks. Anyways, we started putting flange guards on the cylinder head just to protect, because the one thing about pipe guards, that'll happen is like the pipe maybe doesn't get bashed in, but it'll crank that pipe around the frame and really put a lot of stress on the cylinder head. Like I've had to pull some of Dane's pipes off with literally like a pry bar because and the pipe looks okay, but it's all pushed. If you're sitting on the bike, it's like pushed and wrapped around hard left on that side. So that's where I don't know. I think they're potentially good, and if you got it one, I'd throw it on there, but I would definitely pay attention to, even if the pipe looks good, how it's sitting in the cylinder, because it might just be completely mashed and pushed sideways. I don't know, something to think about. Silencers, we've just been running stock. I've done FMF before, no complaints, but honestly didn't notice any difference either. So like, not opposed to it, but
those are definitely one things where I'm like, I don't know if
it's,
any difference
it's not
or
like
not.
a make or break for me by any stretch. I'm sure people out there know more and maybe can feel a difference on some of this stuff, but this would go to like, I guess we'll go to engine stuff real quick. Like stock power, as long as your bike runs good, runs crisp, runs clean, I can't imagine a scenario yet where I need more power out of that bike. In fact, when I have done modifications to it and I do get more, at least for me, like it probably gets me into more trouble than it actually helps, because they're just so, I mean, the stock 300s, like, you get so much power to begin with. And where I'm at, I can't use it all regardless. So if I put more in it and spend all that money, and from my experience when I have done it, it just fucked up how the bike ran anyways. Then I was chasing, like flashing or getting to get ECU, new maps and blah, blah, blah. So the bike I have right now, I got a 21 TPI Husky T300. I have done nothing to the motor, and it's run great ever since I got it. And I think, and from what I've heard from people, like, you definitely can kind of feel, it seems like, get a dud, right? And then you're chasing issues.
Yeah, I was going to say, from what I hear, like, the TPIs, like, you can get a lemon.
Yeah, but the one I got this go around's been fantastic, and I've done absolute zero. I have a high compression head sitting in the shop, and like, I don't even want to put it on. I don't need to.
Yeah. And
then, so I had a 19 before Husky T300, and I did the high compression head, Slavens, get ECU, and the injector, move the injectors, like and it worked great, and it was a noticeable difference on the bottom end. But then it seemed like it ran great for the first 50 hours or 100 hours. I don't remember exactly.
I was just going to say, maybe there's like a maintenance issue here.
No, it wasn't a maintenance issue. But then I started having this weird issue right in the low end of mid-range that I couldn't get it figured out, and it was very frustrating. And so that was like, why risk messing this up when the one I got runs great the way it is. So
yeah.
Anyway, so we don't have much to promote on the engine side. I would say the one thing we do is the S3's hose kit, which seems to definitely help the bikes run a little cooler. Definitely just cleans up all that hose stuff in there.
We put Evans in.
Yeah, we use Evans coolant.
That's one thing.
Of course, Trail Tech fan.
Oh yeah, yes, you need a fan.
100%. Yeah.
It's almost like I feel bad for the people that don't have fans, because they're like,
I don't ride with them,
spewing out. Like, I just feel bad because, like, I mean, I was there. Like, I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Just, like,
no, if you want to,
I'm like, I think the bike's real hot.
If you want to go ride hard stuff and push yourself, unless you're someone who does that on a very, very pro level, basically, and knows
I'm sure those
the
pro
equipment,
guys don't need fans.
Then maybe. But for us mere mortals, we need all the help we can get, and fans are a necessity.
Mere mortal needs the fan.
Radiator guards, big fan.
Yeah.
I think those are fairly important for not stranding yourself out on the trail. It's very easy to drop your bike or get pitched or thrown and accidentally smash into something. Can ruin your day. So again, we usually stick with the bulletproof radiator guards have been great. They provide a lot of airflow. I have had some friends who have put different ones on. I can't even think of the brands, honestly, but bikes ran a little hotter all the time and sometimes pretty damn hot, even with a fan. And
really?
It was a restriction to airflow. So you do got to pay attention a little bit to how that pattern's cut in the front and make sure you get a lot in there. Moving on down, front wheel. Dane's got the bulletproof front disc guard on. I have the Aceribus kind of plastic thing. Don't know if it does anything. Hopefully it maybe deflects slightly, but any big impact probably bend a rotor. That bulletproof one definitely provides a little bit more protection. And that's really it. That's about everything we use. The last thing I was gonna bring up. Oh yeah. Okay, two things. Tires, and then along with tires, we don't run tubeless. We run Moose front and back. Basically been running Moose since I figured out that existed. Yeah. It's been definitely a learning curve. It's so much more accessible now to learn about and to be able to get the right size and even a softer Moose. Like, it's not like I was starting this in like 1990, but even honestly in like 2017, I couldn't find shit. And there was no Nitro Nutex soft Moose yet. So like you'd get a Moose super hard.
I think we had Moose last us 2 summers.
Oh yeah, forever. But no traction in the beginning, right? Because the Moose is just hard and we're trying anyway. So big learning curve. It's been fun. I'm glad that part of it's mostly over. And we have an idea of what we need, how soft you can run them. Soft Moose, I definitely figure out some double rim lock on there so you don't have to worry about your tire coming off. But yeah, we've been Moose front and back. Yeah. And you just got to start and play with it if you haven't. The tubeless, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate on it. I don't like it. I've never run it, but I've run it with enough people.
Here's our experience with it. We've never personally ran it, so we don't know the benefits to it, but we have seen is people running into issues.
Yeah, not like a issue, like issue after issue after issue on the same ride.
Yeah. So, that's our experience. So that definitely leaves a bad taste in our mouth for the tubeless. But like I said, we don't. Well, here's my take. I would rather not have to deal with changing a tire, fixing a flat.
Right. And you essentially don't have to change a tire, but you do have to plug a hole. Right.
Plug a hole.
But then you got to carry the stuff to plug the hole. You got to carry air.
From what I've seen, like you can still get a flat. Can't you pinch the tubeless piece?
Mm-hmm. I had a friend who punctured the unpuncturable.
Yeah. So like that part to me, I was like, I don't want to risk that.
Yeah.
And then,
again, not a knock on it. Well, I guess it's kind of a knock on it, but from from no experience whatsoever with the actual product, just friends doing it and riding with them. And of course, if you're racing, like, why risk it?
Yeah. Like that's I think what it boils down to is like, if you're gonna plug a hole in a race, like unless you're super fast at it, which I'm not.
It's still, why race it? Why risk it? Yeah. And then the other part would be, okay, if you're going to run Moose in a race, you should run Moose all the time so you figure out what it feels like, what works, what doesn't, when you're getting traction, what Moose is best in these conditions, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Totally.
Suspension.
Oh. Yeah, this one would be one where, like, when I'm starting out, like, I didn't know crap. Now, I finally am at a point where I feel like I can tell a difference, to be honest. This summer I got on, I was riding my bike. Poor thing has a lot of hours on it. And got on 2 friends' bikes. One of them had just gotten her suspension done. Shout out to Deja Moto. And it was I was like, oh my God, I could tell a difference. More so, I was excited that I could tell. B, I was like, well, mine's not right. And mine was not right due to honestly what I believe is a lack of service. So that's like one thing too, is like just learning these things. You kind of have to you know, experience that to be like, okay, now you cannot put 200 hours on. I actually don't know how many, but
at least.
Oh, really? That's so
probably,
bad.
yeah.
No, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Shh. Sorry, people. My mechanic over here is failing me.
Hey, we're all learning.
So now I know you cannot do that. Do not do that, which I was told not to do that. I just, didn't pay attention. Don't do that.
It's easy.
It's not a good idea, and it's probably not good for your suspension either.
Oh,
so
no.
freaking do your maintenance on it, Dane.
So it would be kind of one of those things like when you're starting out.
Amateur hour all the time.
Ride your bike. As you get better, suspension would definitely be one of the modifications that would potentially move the needle.
And like, honestly, learning it too, I think is very, like, if you're going to learn how to ride your bike, you should learn how to operate your suspension. I'm like telling myself this, like, hey, we need to.
I don't know anything.
But we really are doing a disservice to ourselves in that realm, because I mean, we should know what the clickers do and how they affect the bike and how to adjust it based on the terrain we're riding.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not a tinkerer.
I know we're really not tinkerers.
I hate it.
But we should try and tinker a little bit more.
I know. I don't like it.
But we should. We really should, because I think there's value to that.
Yeah, definitely. Same thing. First bike I ever had, the stock suspension. I'm 225 pounds, roughly, somewhere in there, with gear, probably 240. And rode it for a while. Stock suspension, stock springs. Wouldn't have known the difference. Eventually started to get a little faster, just...
You started bottoming out?
Started like being like, damn, I'm working really hard on downs and impacts, and it just feels bad. And so my friend actually had a pair of springs for the front that were either rated for me or real close, big upgrade. And then I bought a rear spring, didn't touch any of the other stuff, just changed the springs out. Monumental difference. Like, it was huge. And so did that for a while. And then the first new bike I bought, I sent the suspension off before I ever rode it. And I've basically been doing that ever since. Because, again, for me, being as big as I am, stock suspension's just not really an option. And so I would say that's, besides the protective gear, that's probably the biggest thing I do for my bike now is suspension, and then all the, stuff basically we talked about. And that's about it.
Amateur hour, what's on your bike?
Yeah.
What's on your bike?
Dirt.
That's what we have on our bikes.
Yeah. That's it. I think, real quick, just kind of in summary, I feel like kind of gone full circle in some areas. Like, we've tried a lot of things and come back to where we're at now. I try and keep my bike as stock as possible now, as far as geometry goes. So no risers, no drop pegs. I would, if I could find some Raptor drop pegs or something similar, I would potentially do that again, being as tall as I am. But I would not change the steering wheel height again. As far as going handlebars, I wouldn't go up higher than stock. I would like to try the stock setup again, just to see the difference between that and the Astra bars. Other than that, I think it's all.
Hey,
I think it's all tires and boosters.
Your kill switch and your starter.
Oh yes, I did. That was a Destry Abbott thing.
Yep.
Shout out to them.
I think he just did a video on that too.
Yeah, and I love that. So I switched my starter to the left and my kill switch to the right. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it, honestly. It's better. It's so much easier to access that starter button when you're in gnarly positions than to try and the other thing is your throttle housing, like where your cables come in, makes that you can't get that button real close. So you have you got to be able to get your thumb around that to hit the button.
I pride myself on that.
Off the throttle, And
it's like an extra skill.
Once you get used to it, and I did it right before a race for the first time ever, and it was a non-issue. So I would say if you're worried about screwing it up, just do it.
Yeah, maybe not at the start of a race.
But. Well, I mean, I was like, I'm either going to do it now or do it later, so I might as well just do it now. Yeah, I really like that switch. I like it even better when people get on my bike and can't start it because they keep hitting the kill switch. It's pretty funny.
The little things.
Yeah.
So that's what's on our bikes. For two amateurs that have been riding for about 8 years. Well, you've been longer than me, but...
Hit and miss. Racing for 3-ish.
It's actually been longer. But
it's been longer, but like...
Not really.
Trying to race kind of consistently for 3.
Yeah. Looking forward to all the upcoming races. The Hard Enduro, Extreme Hard Enduro, what is it called? AMA Hard Enduro. Yeah. Their schedule is out. We'll be trying to get as much of that as we can.
West Series.
Yeah. On the West Coast. I'll be coaching for Dirtastic this year. Super excited about that. They've got a lot of great events coming up. Shout out to Kaylin. It's going to be a good year. Lots of fun stuff. And that's it.
Yeah.
I think in our next podcast, we might be talking about some nutrition stuff with the January 1st New Year's resolutions shenanigans coming up. So keep a lookout for that. And we'll catch you in a couple weeks. Anything you want to add?
Nope. It's been real.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.